not tower.
Mentioned Afghanistan and drugs and so on, and it made me think how I know that a lot of the drugs goes through Kosovo, then goes to Europe, and
Bravo, bravo. Where Kosovo? What is at Kosovo? What is in Kosovo?
bond still. Are you talking about that?
Exactly. What is the bond still? Try to explain to our colleagues, listeners.
Uh, it's a U.S. military base, I think.
Is the strongest
And
military base of United States in Europe today. It was built up after destruction of Yugoslavia. Bond still is a station for drugs. Afghanistan, Turkey, Kosovo, Aviano, Amsterdam, and so on. And then Amsterdam, South Carolina, or something like that. Or from Colombia or Peru, or I don't know where, up to New Orleans, or from Cambodia, from Burma, from Indochina, London, and so on. We have a new, very important center for drugs, mass dealing in Europe, and it is in Kosovo. That's the importance of Kosovo. It's not strategically important for fighting Russia, blah, 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 blah. It's a dispatcher center for drugs. So remember, bond still. Now, Anastasia, maybe you can try to think where is the, and if it is the center in Ukraine, and always follow the NATO installations. It's the same with Bulgaria. Rockets. Oh, rocket installations. Oh, no. Always follow military. And the main role of military is drugs. United States are, try to hear this now exactly, losing wars after wars last 50, 60 years. No winning the war anywhere. Just from one to another disaster. That's the story of United States. It's not a story about war. It's about drugs. It's about earning enormous quantity of money. It's about richness and wealthness of the West. It was the same situation as 19th century or 18th century. It's another story. Okay, sorry, Isidora. Bond still try to keep it in your mind, and then in next week, research. This is very important for Montenegro, for Kosovo, for Macedonia, for Albania, and for Greece. Are they going to leave Kosovo? It's a very similar question. Are they going out from Afghanistan? Only by force. But not force of Russia or of China, but by force from Kosovo, from Macedonia. That's the story. It's the story of our children. Otherwise, you will have extremely open market of drug markets in your cities, and your children will be destroyed by drugs. Drugs are not only about joy and desires, it's about destruction of younger generation. One thing is you are killing, another you are gassing. Third one is about chemistry. One form of chemistry is COVID. Another form of chemistry is drugs. And if you have population in Belgrade, in Skopje, in Zagreb, having opportunity to buy extremely, extremely good concentration, big quantities and so on, without serious money of cocaine or heroin, then you have destruction, for example, of Belgrade, destruction of generation of EKV, Ekaterina Velika, one of the most important band in Belgrade from Sarajevo. They used to come to Komiža. Some of them I even knew. They are all gone. They are destroyed. It's the same with the entire generations. It's about passivization. It's about chemistry being intravenous in your body. So when we are speaking about Afghanistan, Kosovo, Bond Still, or Bagram and so on, we are speaking about drugs, and the future generation is not necessarily to kill somebody having 60 or 15. It's enough to give him 2, 3, 4 grams at the beginning, and then from day to day, daily dealing drugs. So that's the importance. Sorry, Isidora. Yes, Bond Still, yeah.
I mean, I didn't have much to say. It made me connect, Afghanistan and Kosovo and drugs and so on. So I don't know. I don't have a specific question, but if you know more, if you want to share more with us, because I think it's quite interesting, because I don't think we know enough about it.
No, you are not studying yet, but in the future you will, if you want to understand, of course. But anyway, what I'm trying to say to you is this one. Do not think Serbian question in terms of what Dobrica Ćosić, Milošević is speaking. Do not think about Croatian question on the basis of what Tudjman is speaking and the fascists on this or that side. Fascists are totally illiterate idiots. They have no idea what's going on. They are the part of the game. They are used and misused. And this is mainly what TV is trying to present you. Something which is destroying your very capability of understanding. So it's not about the pride of Serbs. Serbian nation is more or less destroyed. It's the same with Croatia. Croatian state is destroyed. If you want historically to understand, then you should go a little bit back to Second World War, before, and so on. Of course, I can try to offer you my interpretation, because last 40, 45 years, I was working on my interpretation, because that's a central problem for me. Who I am. My identity is I'm Balkans. I'm Balkanir. Balkan is my country. I'm at home in Fruška Gora as in Sarajevo. I'm at home in Ljubljana as in Bitola. I'm an islander from Vis. I went to Split to Ljubljana. I was everywhere. That's my country. Bulgaria is also my country. Greece is also my country. This is the way I'm feeling. So that's the reason why I'm thinking in terms of Balkans, in terms of what we are doing to ourselves. This is one story. Most important story for now, for your generations, is what they are doing to us. It's similar in Ukraine. The problem is that we are thinking that we are doing only to ourselves. Serbs against Croats, Macedonians against Albanians, Kosovars, Kosovars for or against Albanians. Who is going to be the guy in big Albania, Albanians or Kosovars? This is a very big problem. It's very serious things. What is the role of, now the very central problem for former Yugoslavia is Bosnia. Bosnia is the place in which Croatia and Serbia are fighting for their imperium. Serbia is fighting for Serbian imperium. Croatia is fighting for Croatian imperium. And where is the battlefield? In Bosnia. The main point of so-called Serbian nationalism and Croatian nationalism is Bosnia. The existence of Bosnia that's the reason why existence of Bosnia is very important in order to stop these bloody wars and so on. It's important to have Bosnia and to stop Croatian and Serbian and now proper war. The proper word is not nationalism. The proper word is colonialism. If you want to understand Balkans, you should understand that we, in the sense of history of Balkans in last thousands of years, is always history of colonialism of foreign powers. If you want to understand Balkans, you should think Balkans in terms of Africa. As Brits came to Ghana, as French came to Algiers, is the same or similar story when Turks, Ottoman Empire came into Serbia or Macedonia. Venice Empire came in Dalmatia or Slovenia, or Austro-Hungarian Empire came into Bosnia, or and so on and so forth. So do not think from Serbian position, Croatian position. You need larger picture. And this larger picture, in the sense of a region, is Balkan. The main important, I think that's the main thing in understanding is, do not think from Yugoslavia, do not think from Serbia, do not think from Croatia. Enlarge your picture. Your point is Balkans. What we have together, this togetherness of Balkans is a colonial treatment of our neighbors. This is the starting point. And then go in. That's the reason why, in a certain way, Tito's generation's partisans was so important for us. If you have any nostalgia towards partisans, that's the reason why you have. Because they understood that if they would be capable of fighting big colonial power, Italy, Germany mainly in sense of fascist Italy and National Socialist Germany, that they should somehow come together. This togetherness of fight is something which is very important for understanding Balkans. It was not only fight of ex-Yugoslavs, but it was also fight of ex-Yugoslavs plus Albanian partisans, Greek partisans, Bulgarian partisans, but above everything, Greek partisans. I know that you have no idea that war, in the sense of Second World War, was not ended in May of 1945 because Greek partisans were fighting Brits and Americans. Greek partisans were fighting Brits and Americans until the end of 48, beginning of 49. I know that that is something which is totally erased from your schools and books. But this is something which was a very important thing. And Tito's partisans, Tito's Yugoslavia was investing and selling and giving arms to Greek partisans, because idea was how to bring the Balkan together, how to produce something as a Balkan Federation. It is something which is totally forgotten. An idiot, as let's say Milosevic is, or Josic is, or Tudjman is, or Janša is, they have no idea what's taking place. And this having no idea is an excellent opportunity for CIA, for US, for Austria, for Germany, for Italy to come in, for Russia to come in and to play their interests. If you would go to understand what's taking place in Croatia of today, you will see that there is no Croatian bank. Everything is in scanned of Italians Austrians, Germans, and French banking systems. So what's going on? And so on and so forth. So if you are buying this idea of Macedonian nationalism, if you are playing today a role of Bemero, Depemene, if you are thinking in terms of only of Gotha Delce, if you are lost. If you are thinking in terms of, I don't know, General Mikhailovich, or you are thinking in terms of Ustashi, you are lost in the middle of terrorist organizations. Balkan is full of terrorist organizations, observing from the history. And today, right-wingers in Serbia, in Croatia, and Bosnia, and so on, they are all playing the role based in ex-terrorist organizations. And there is no future for your generation. That's the reason why you are now in this or that way in Slovenia. You have an opportunity to live in Kiev, in Sarajevo, in Prijedor, in Belgrade. This is, or in Vienna. That's the reason why you are here. You could not survive in Balkans. Balkans is destroyed. And any serious fight for your future, in the sense of future for your children, is fight for Balkans. It's not enough to fight for Slovenia or Montenegro. You need more in order to block the foreign influences. That's the point. So when we are speaking about Serbian question or Croatian question or whatever question, Macedonian question is connected mainly with Bulgarian question too, which is much more complicated as it looks like. Then you should somehow start from different point than we are used in last 30 years. Because if you are starting from the story of Milutinu, priča ili zgodba o Milutinu, which is the most read book in last 30 years, 35 years in Serbia, then you are lost. If you are in mythologies of Serbhood or Croatianhood or Croathood or Montenegrinhood, then you are lost. Mainly in this or that church, in Roman Catholic Croat church or Serbian Protestant church, and so on and so forth. So the problem is your beginning of thinking how to enlarge your vistas, how to observe from bird perspective, how to see larger context, or how to go out of box. What I'm trying to do with you is destruction of the box. All my steps, all my sentences I'm producing is to offer your capability of going beyond, to think out of box. That's the point of this seminar. And in this sense, in this opportunity, I tackled two very, very concrete problems. One is Afghanistan, another is Serbia. So yes, if you want to understand Serbia, go to Bonn still, today. It was different 25 years ago. Today is Bonn still. This is the epicenter. 25 years ago, it was Milosevic, it was Tudjman, and it was fight for Bosnia. Serbs and Croats lost Bosnia, but at the same time, they are capable of blocking new state of Bosnia. That's the role of Dodik, that's the role of Herzegovinian mafia state in Mostar, and so on. Similar things, even more complicated, you have in Macedonia with the Albanians in Kosovo, with the Bulgarians in Sofia, with the role of Greek in terms of even at the level of the name, and so on and so forth. That will be the beginning, and then we can develop understanding. Christina, now this is a different perspective on Serbian question, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I saw like a couple of days ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, we opened this Belgrade Institute for producing vaccines, but not we would produce the Sputnik ones. Does this tell something? Now you mentioned drugs, so I kind of went in that direction. So we are still Russia on.
Yeah, this is something which is too much. Of course, it is very closely connected with drugs. This is chemical destruction of generations.
When you say drugs, do you specifically mean like drugs like pain, I don't know, weed and other supplements, or you mean like medical drugs, like pharmaceutical one?
I'm using drugs in a general term. It's about chemistry. Weed, if you would ask me, it's not drug, or at least it's not serious drug. When I'm thinking about weed, it is something which is connected with tobacco for me. So tobacco, weed.
Tobacco is legalized. This is not still.
This is the way how I
at least in
perceive
most
it.
countries.
The problem is when chemistry come in, when this or that form of redefining something that is natural came in. This is the role, this is the reason why, for example, for me, among drugs, I'm counting sugar. Among drugs, I'm counting alcohol. So when this or that chemistry intervention came in, regardless whether it is boiling or it is something else, then we can say, we can speak, we can think about drugs. That's the way how I understand, how I use terminology of drugs. So yes, when I say, let's say, heroin or I say cocaine, is drugs in the similar sense as drugs in the sense that a doctor would prescribe you, I don't know which kind of tranquilizer or in that sense, yeah. And plus, when we are thinking about drugs, and this is very important for me, not so very important in the sense of alcohol, it's less important, but sugar, one of the most dangerous thing in destroying generations. Also at the level of thinking, it is not only a level of body, it's not only obesity, it's not about how huge you are getting when you are using sugar. It's about how sugar is blocking your thinking, how it's producing you harmless for your masters, how is producing your joy, how is fulfilling your desires. That's the reason why you are, when you are in a problem, instead of thinking and trying to find solution, you will go, you do know where. Your solution is a refrigerator, and then piece of cake, and then chocolate, and then this or that bloody piece of chemistry. So when we are thinking, thinking is a bloody hard process. You should fight, and you should do not go to refrigerator. And when I'm speaking about sugar, it's not only sugar in sense of something which is in chocolate or in this or that form of the cake. Sugar is in almost all drinks you are drinking, in this bloody automaton in front of your houses, schools, universities, everywhere, including coffee. And last but not least, in beer. All these forms of alcohol, of liquids, are actually only forms of, evaporating forms of sugar, and not necessarily only with sugar in the sense of natural raw material. And you have a lot of industry, so to speak, of derivatives, as in money, as in oil, of sugar, being based in chemical investigations. If you think, for example, that alchemy is past, that this is story of 13th or 17th century, you are wrong. Alchemistry is functioning mainly at the level of sugar, new forms of sugar. And the aim of all these industries, this is the main industry of today, and not steel industry, and not wood industry, and not concrete or cement industry. This is industry. So how to produce as much as possible of sugar, as much as possible cocaine, as much as possible social media. All these postmodern industries are destroying body, but not only body, but the level of thinking in terms of possibility and even desire, eagerness to think. You are losing desire to understand. What I'm trying to do in all my seminar, this is the main problem, this is the main point of my methodology, is to renew, to invest, to motivate you to understand, nothing more, because understand is the highest point of human possibilities. If you understand, then you can do something. If you don't, you are lost. This is the story of your generation. This is the story of chemistry. The role of chemistry is how to block your capability, your desire, your very inner humanity, in the sense of, I want to understand. This is thing being a definition of child. What it is for years, children are saying and asking the same question. When they are 2.5 or 3 years approximately, they are starting with what it is. And this what it is question could last endlessly until the end, until death, or it could be stopped. And you could stop this what it is question in various ways. And in your generation, when you are 10, 11, 12, 13, and so on, it's going in most easiest way through chocolate, sugar, and then later on, beer, alcohol, and so on. And then medicalization, medicament. That's the story of how they are destroying, how they are controlling. And you can't understand this from the position of capitalism, capital, of proletariats, of Marxian way of thinking. You should go beyond that. And things are bloody complicated. You should know a lot of things, from the history to philosophy, from chemistry to, I don't know, art. So that's the reason why I'm forced to answer the question about blah, 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 Afghanistan. What Afghanistan? Or that I'm forced to answer the question about Kosovo, about Serbian national question. It's very important that I'm opening you this chemistry, drugs, a totally dark side of the moon, dark side of thinking, something which is totally suppressed at the level of academia. Today, academia is more or less playing the same role as the church used to play in 12th, or 13th, and 14th century. So be careful of academia. Academia is not here to open your eyes, offer you thinking, understanding, judging, acting. So thinking, understanding, judging, acting. These are faculties, human faculties. And if they block you at the level of thinking, you are not capable of understanding, judging, and acting. This is a story about castration. You are castrated without physical castration. This is the story of academia. Academia is doing this. Doctors are not castrating you. You know how to fight for your penis, for your balls, for your breasts, for your pieces of your body. This is something which you know how to, but you know how to fight castration at the level of thinking, how to fight castration at the level of understanding. That's one of my jobs.